Part 29. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 291. At the edge of the Angel Nebula and outside the border guarding Angel Station, heavenly sword warships cruised around three huge spherical warships. At the same time, on the upper deck of Heavenly Sword, Angel warriors were on guard with weapons in hand. At a hidden observation port on the Kamigawa fleet battleship, a woman wearing a black combat uniform made of unknown material placed her hand down and picked up a sniper rifle that was nearly 2 meters long. Texas, I have observed that most of these angels are at the level of a generation of warriors and have the ability to fight in space. Considering their flexible air combat capabilities, ordinary first-generation fighters should not be able to compete with them. Hearing this, the tall male figure standing behind the female figure touched his chin and sighed. These angels with wings on their backs don't look weak, but I don't know how they feel when chopped. By the way, can Moran collect information about their weapons and armor? The woman named Moran did not immediately answer the question of the man named Texas. Instead, she leaned against the wall and began to adjust the large sniper rifle in her hand. After a while, Moran raised his head and saw that Texas hadn't left yet, and sighed helplessly. Texas, who told you that I can scan dark data? Please use your violent mind to think about it. Do you think that as an ordinary super soldier, I would have such high-end scanning capabilities? After saying that, the female figure named Moran ignored Texas and left. Texas cursed himself secretly, why he had forgotten this incident, and quickly followed Moran's figure, and extended his hand to apologize to his back. Oh. No. Moran, please listen to my explanation. Don't leave. Texas didn't get Moran to say anything to him until he followed Moran to the bridge. In the end, he could only give up talking and stood there looking at the projection screen on the high platform. Just then, someone touched Texas' shoulder. He lowered his head slightly and saw a man and a woman beside him. The man has a slender figure and handsome appearance, with short flowing black hair, a pair of thin eyebrows like swords and dark red eyes. The woman has blonde hair like a waterfall, a slightly thin face with just the right facial features, and a trace of undetectable hot emotion flashing through her blue pupils when she looks at the male young man next to her. Its body wrapped in silver light armor, although not hot, gives people the illusion of being very coordinated and full of explosive power. Hey, Texas, you won't fail in hooking up with Moran again, right? Although it was a question, there was a hint of ridicule in the young man's mouth. Texas snorted slightly and moved slightly away from the young man who was the winner in life, but who knew that the other party would not hesitate to stick to him. Tell me about it, I'm very curious about whether you, a straight man like you, can hold a beautiful woman in your arms. Although the two of them spoke in a low voice, they couldn't bear to think that the people around them were not ordinary people, so they turned to the side with their peripheral vision. Moran, who was being chased by Texas before, shook his head slightly, moved forward into the crowd and stayed away. According to her, with the understanding of those two gods, this place will soon become a place of right and wrong. Sure enough, less than a minute after Moran left, there was the sound of fighting behind him, accompanied by Texas' unusually loud voice. I'm telling you, Lin Yuan boy, you rarely bring Miss Piegzu around in front of me. Hey, you won't get angry so easily, right? Isn't it because you can't chase beautiful women? There's no need for you to vent your anger on me. In the middle of the crowd, I saw Texas and a young man named Lin Yuan's arms colliding and intersecting, surrounded by onlookers watching the excitement. As for Bulletin Shui, who was following Lin Yuan just now, he stood helplessly aside, no longer wanting to complain about this scene. You told me that it was useful. But in the end she ignored me at all. While Texas was speaking, he raised his fist, which was larger than a sandbag, and hit Lin Yuan, but he was easily dodged by the opponent. At the same time, he still replied leisurely. Hey, This is because people don't like you. You're out of business, buddy. Just then someone shouted, "The teacher is here." The people around them suddenly stopped watching the farce and started to look up and behind. Hearing this, Texas and Lin Yuan immediately separated. The crowd gradually retreated to make way for a 3-meter wide passage. At the door of the hall was a figure wearing a dark blue silver-edged robe, followed by 4 figures of 2 women and 2 men wearing robes of different colors. Looking past everyone present, only the man wearing a dark blue silver-edged robe stepped onto the platform where the projection was playing, and turned around to look at the many qualified carriers of the new generation of Kamigawa super genes below. "Everyone, please be quiet." As the hall became silent, the old man continued to speak. "I have gathered everyone together to announce something. Just now, the Angel civilization has approved our entry into the Angel Nebula." The old man's voice was very friendly and did not sound condescending. After hearing what the old man said, many figures below began to whisper. Some people also asked, "Teacher Space, if we go in like this, will the Angel civilization attack us?" "That's right. And with the reputation of our Kamigawa civilization in the universe, angels should take the initiative to greet us. There are worried people and arrogant people, but these people only account for a small number, and most of them are Kamigawa administrators who followed this time. As for the others who did not speak, they were all accompanying the Kamigawa civilization army. They were warriors who had experienced the test of the battlefield and would not get involved in such a thing." Just then the thundering voice of Texas sounded. "What are you people talking about? If I dare to attack us in the Angel civilization, I will kill them with my battle axe and let them know what Kamigawa war god is." Texas' nearly 2 meters strong figure stood out in the crowd, and as he opened his mouth, people around him got out of the way. Texas walked to the front of the crowd from the passage that the crowd gave way to, accompanied by the young man Lin Yuan and the beautiful woman Pai Shui. Several Kamigawa administrators who had been naysayers before shut up. They had no choice but to shut up because they were afraid that they would be struck down by Texas with an axe. Standing on the high platform, Space didn't care about these clowns, but he still explained to the logistics, soldiers, and scientific researchers who were accompanying him this time. "The Angel civilization can be seen from their style and the intelligence we have collected. Although they have strong military strength, they are a peace-loving civilization. In addition, we are accompanied by 3 war gods, so you don't have to worry about the safety of this trip." Most of the worries in the hearts of the logistics and scientific researchers who had originally chosen to remain silent because of the authority and prestige of Space finally dissipated. God is the strongest super warrior in the Kamigawa civilization. He is a being who can compete alone and even annihilate the entire military strength of an aerospace-level civilization. With such a being accompanying him, it would be false to say that he is uneasy. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 292. After the Angel civilization agreed to Kamigawa civilization's application for mutual friendly exchanges, 10 sky blades were quickly mobilized to the place where Kamigawa civilization's fleet was housed. Seeing the super-standard heavenly blade battleships gradually gathering one after another, the 3 war gods sitting on the Kamigawa battleship also became a little uneasy, and their expressions were a little solemn. The main reason is that the sky blade is so huge that ordinary civilized people will feel insignificant just by seeing it. Lin Yuan moved his shoulder and touched Texas on the side, and asked, "Hey, Texas, can you split this thing?" Texas didn't answer that he couldn't, but squinted his eyes, stretched out his hand to compare the size of the sky blade in the distance, and finally said a little frustrated, "It takes at least 5 times, 1 is not enough." Hearing this, Lin Yuan cursed in his heart, saying that it would take him a year to crush such a big celestial battleship. As for De Kong, who was inside the battleship, he was very satisfied. The stronger the angel civilization was, the more confident he was to win the war with the advanced beast bodies. Both Kamigawa and Angel civilization are existences that transcend aerospace-level civilization. After receiving the coordinates sent by Angel, the two parties entered the hyperbeam navigation state together after jumping to the star field closer to Marrow Heaven. Keep going. As for why it is not necessary to take a shorter and more convenient jump voyage to continue forward, it is because the Angel did not give the Kamigawa civilization the exact location and jump authority of the Merlot Heaven. Because most of the important star fields in the Angel Nebula have space blockades, which is the result of the hundreds of years of the Holy Rite Hexi, this can prevent foreign civilizations from entering. Generally, without the authority granted by the Merlot Heavenly Court, warships from other civilizations would not be able to jump and sail at will within the Angel Nebula. After sailing at super light speed for several days, 10 Skyblades and 3 warships from the Kamigawa civilization finally arrived at the outskirts of the Merlot Heavenly Court. Before that, part of the defense and hiding mechanisms of Marrow Heaven had been shut down, exposing itself to the cosmic space of the original Marrow Galaxy. In order to welcome the visit of Kamigawa civilization, which is very famous in the universe, Kesha, as the King of Angels, specially chose the meeting place between the two parties on the long walkway square in front of the King of Angels palace. It's enough to save face. Today's Merlot Heaven is different from the past. Because it is to welcome the friendly exchange fleet from the Kamigawa civilization, Merlot Heaven has implemented a rare martial law. Ordinary male and female angels are prohibited from entering the area near the palace, and the sky is also classified as a no-fly zone. In order to prevent accidents, Binghua can be said to be heartbroken. Of course, all these prohibitions set up to prevent accidents do not apply to the soldiers of the Angel Legion. 45 angels from the high-level angel civilization group were present, and all the angels guarding and standing guard around the palace were replaced by elite secondary warriors. It can be said that the Merlot Heavenly Palace at this moment is more heavily guarded than ever before. Kesha, Binghua, Hexi, Liangbing, and a group of high-level angels behind them stood in the wide corridor square. At this moment, the figure of Tianren could be vaguely seen in the sky of Merlot Heavenly Court. Binghua said calmly, "They are coming." The next moment, the sky roared, and several Skyblade battleships slowly landed in the sky behind Kesha, Binghua and other angels. Opposite them were 3 large silver-gray metal spherical battleships landing in the front direction, landing at Merlot Heavenly Courtyard. The large spherical battleship did not completely fall to the square, but was suspended in the air like the Skyblade. Then a beam of light curtain shone from the battleship and slowly swept back. As the light curtain swept through the air, figures emerged from it. The first one was an old man wearing a dark blue silver-edged robe. Behind him were 2 men and 2 women. Then behind him were a tall, strong man with a masculine appearance, and a man and a woman with a slender figure. Kesha took the initiative to greet the old man. As a sacred left-winger, Binghua couldn't let the queen go alone, so she followed him. "Welcome guests from Kamigawa civilization. I am Kesha, the King of Angels. These are my sacred wings and assistant officer Liangbing." There weren't many polite words, and as the King of Angels, Kesha didn't need those. She just briefly introduced her warriors and sisters with a faint smile. The old man opposite also briefly introduced the young men in robes behind him. "I come from the space of the Kamigawa civilization. I come here on behalf of the Kamigawa civilization. I want to have some friendly academic and intellectual exchanges with the Angel civilization. And these are my students, Lanbing, Seer, Karl, and Kaisha. The 3 at the back are the 3 war gods escorting this time, namely Texas, Linyuan, and Pyexu." When the old man who claimed to be from space was introducing several young men with extraordinary temperaments behind him to Kesha, Binghua, Hexi, and Liangbing were all looking at these visitors from Kamigawa. As the first angel to know the existence of Kamigawa, Hiawa had already made a guess in his mind that the statues of Kamigawa people should be very similar to angels, and it turned out to be true when he saw it today. These Kamigawa people are basically no different from angels except for the lack of wings and the slight difference in the statues of archangels. While Binghua was sizing up the Kamigawa civilization and his party, the other side was also sizing up these existences who claim to be angels. At first glance, the long white legs are all visible, and then there is the soft figure that is supported by the close-fitting armor. It is a pity that the face is covered by the helmet with a visor, but the long and smooth hair falls from the with fair necks. The faces of these angels are definitely not bad. Everyone in Kamigawa did not dare to look at the four angels who were the only ones showing their faces, because it was very impolite in Kamigawa civilization to look directly at women. Binghua saw that among the four students behind the old man opposite, a blond young man with a blue hood was peeking at him. When Binghua looked over, the other person lowered his head as if he was a little shy. He glanced slightly to the side, just in time to see Liang Bing's slightly raised corners of his mouth. After the two parties introduced each other's identities, Kesha invited these guests from the Kamigawa civilization to talk to the Angel Palace. Everything went smoothly, and nothing unexpected happened. The Kamigawa people were not as arrogant as they imagined. But one thing is certain, that is, the old man and the three war gods he mentioned gave Binghua a very dangerous feeling. What happened after that was very simple. Not many people from Kamigawa civilization came this time, less than 1,000 people, and they were quickly settled by angels. Next was a time for the two sides to learn about each other's civilization history and culture. During this period, Binghua also led the three Kamigawa war gods to visit the ordinary area of Merlot Heaven. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 293. In the blink of an eye, several months have passed since the Kamigawa civilization arrived at the Angel civilization. Both sides have a simple understanding of each other's civilization and history. Not all of these beings who claim to be Kamigawa civilization are Kamigawa people. There are less than 4 real Kamigawa people among them, namely the leader, the old man Space, and his 2 students, Lan Bing and Kasha. The remaining Simon and Carl are young talented scholars from the new Kamigawa civilization who later became disciples of the Space sect. Although I don't know what the old man named Space and Kesha talked about specifically, but based on Kesha's recent behavior of always sitting on the throne and meditating for a long time, Binghua can feel that its content will definitely have an impact on the future of Angel civilization. Great impact. But now Binghua is not too interested in those, because she believes that Kesha's strategic vision can lead the female angel to rise in such an unfavorable situation. On the contrary, Hyoka was more interested in the history and origin of the Kamigawa civilization, probably to show their sincerity. They did not hide much about the history of their civilization. The Kamigawa civilization first originated in the Kamigawa star system, which was a star field far away from the Angel Nebula. But unlike the Angel civilization, the population of the Kamigawa people was much more prosperous. As time went by, the technology of the Kamigawa people became more and more advanced. They got rid of the constraints of their home planet and began to explore the starry sky around them. During this period, they destroyed the powerful foreign enemies around them through war or diplomacy, and renamed the surrounding galaxy with the Kamigawa star as the center to the Kamigawa galaxy. The development of civilization has never been smooth sailing. The Kamigawa civilization, which thought it was powerful, was hit head-on by the more powerful beast body civilization, making them realize that they were not the boss in the universe. As the war continued, the Kamigawa civilization once reached a precarious situation. Those warriors of the beast-like civilization who were extremely physically strong and could control an unknown energy by relying on the special organs generated in their bodies would become the pride of the Kamigawa civilization. The weapons of war were treated as toys and ravaged. In the end, the Kamigawa civilization had no choice but to use the other's spear and attack the other's shield, and began to conduct research on human body enhancement to explore the root cause of why the beast body warriors were so powerful. So the first super warriors were born. They had bodies that were several times stronger than ordinary Kamigawa people, and could adapt to many extreme cosmic living environments. However, due to metabolism, they were also more likely to age. Relying on the spirit of fearlessness and tenacious fighting spirit, the Kamigawa civilization relied on constantly updated super warriors and more advanced weapons to defeat the beast civilization that invaded the Kamigawa galaxy. Since then, Kamigawa has been inseparable from the beast body civilization, and the two sides have continued to break out conflicts and small-scale wars near the Kamigawa galaxy. When the Shenhe civilization passed the 90,000-year mark of its history, a scientist named Binghua proposed a research topic called the God-Making Project. At this moment, the Kamigawa civilization has reached a bottleneck in mechanical engineering and physics technology. They can easily seize the energy of stars for their own use. Even the black hole, the most dangerous celestial body in the universe, cannot cause harm to their civilization, because their Kamigawa civilization has developed the technology to annihilate black holes at long distances. We have even achieved some results in some seemingly abstract and illusory conceptual technologies, such as pausing an area for a short time, freezing space, etc. Binghua's theory of God-making projects was very strange in the Shenhe civilization at that time. This was how it was explained to the higher UPS of Shenhe. Human life is too short in the face of the eternal universe. As an outstanding scientist becomes more and more knowledgeable, his contribution to the civilization will be greater. Many profound topics that can advance civilization are often regretfully discontinued due to the death of the host. The God-making project is the research topic to break this phenomenon. We will explore the ultimate mystery of life, which is eternity. I would like to ask you all to imagine how far a genius scientist with unlimited life can improve a civilization. There is no doubt that Binghua's theory has been highly praised by Kamigawa's top brass. Under the temptation of eternal life, a large amount of resources, manpower, and material resources have been invested in the bottomless pit of the God-making project. Finally, the first result of the God-making project appeared, which was the super gene, which was fundamentally different from the previous physical enhancement technology. Because he has broken the theoretical lifespan limit of life and has been implanted with the existence of super genes, their body aging speed will be delayed to an alarming level, and they will have more exaggerated physical strength than previous super warriors. They are called for the first generation of super soldiers. After seeing the effect, the Kamigawa civilization continued to increase investment, because the first generation of super soldiers was not enough, and their lifespan of hundreds of years could not satisfy them. Their goal was to be immortal. So the second and third generations of super soldiers appeared one after another, until the existence that Kamigawa called God was born. Only those who are immortal, indestructible, and even resurrected from the dead can be called gods. The emergence of gods can be said to be the most outstanding product of the God-making project of the Kamigawa civilization. This has changed the social and military form of the Kamigawa civilization in disguise. For a time, the God-making projects of the Kamigawa civilization sprung up like mushrooms after a rain, such as the Kamigawa god of war, the fist of Kamigawa, the blade of Kamigawa, the spear of Kamigawa, and so on. However, wanting to become a god is not unconditional, especially for the first-generation gods. These special super genes that can transform mortals into gods have strict requirements on the host body. The host must have a strong will and strong psychological and physical qualities, or the super gene must be cultivated directly from the embryonic stage. This made some of the top leaders of the Kamigawa civilization a little disappointed, because this meant that old men like them would be shut out forever. However, for the sake of the overall prosperity of the civilization, the Kamigawa civilization did not stop investing in the God-making project. Even in order to popularize, some God-making projects have been degraded and mass-produced, such as the castrated model of Kamigawa god of war, Kamigawa war blade. The castrated model of the gun of Kamigawa, the Kamigawa sniper and a series of ordinary super soldiers. At this time, the Kamigawa civilization could be said to have reached its peak, and even the animal civilization, which had always been at odds with them, avoided its edge. It stands to reason that such a powerful Kamigawa civilization should gradually expand its sphere of influence until it establishes a cosmic empire that spans galaxies. But on the contrary, the Kamigawa civilization only accepted some ordinary civilizations who took the initiative to seek asylum as tributaries, and then devoted themselves to the endless path of studying gods and exploring the truth of the universe. When Binghua visited here, he frowned slightly, because the historical data of Kamigawa civilization was gone and fragments appeared. Because there is no official description in too much detail, this book is actually full of secondary settings. The Kamigawa civilization here also has certain secondary settings. But don't worry, everyone, I will explain how it is logical to assume that the same person is the same person, so I ask for your understanding, book friends. This may not be the Super Seminary in your image. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 294. Closing the book with a gorgeous framed cover in his hand, Binghua placed it on the table aside, took a sip of the still steaming tea. Binghua was very interested in the next development of the historical process of Kamigawa civilization. Since there was no shared information, Binghua planned to ask Texas, who he had become familiar with recently. He did it as soon as he thought of it. Binghua immediately got up and walked out of the palace. Go. As for the specific location of the Divine River civilization being placed in Merlot heaven, Binghua, as the sacred left wing, naturally knew it and directly spread its wings to fly towards its destination. Soon Binghua arrived at his destination, an area designated specifically to house the entourage of the Divine River civilization. Binghua folded her wings and landed on the ground. She nodded to the two angel warriors standing guard and saluted, and Binghua walked up. From time to time along the way, ordinary Kamigawa people or scholars in robes secretly looked at Binghua, because few angels would come here. When Binghua arrived in front of the palace where Texas, Linyuan, and Pyexu lived, several Kamigawa gun-wielding soldiers standing guard at the door recognized her and did not stop her. Although the angels' costumes were all similar, you can still tell who Binghua is. Before entering the angel-style palace, Binghua heard the conversation between Texas and Linyuan inside. I mean, big guy, all the angelic civilizations are beautiful, so you don't have any ideas. You. I will only marry Kamigawa women. Although the archangel is indeed beautiful, I will never break my principles. Binghua walked in without paying attention and greeted him familiarly. Texas, Linyuan, long time no see. Texas and Linyuan, who were sitting on the stone bench chatting with each other, heard that it was Binghua and quickly stood up to greet them. Miss Binghua, why are you free to come to our place today? Texas was surprised that he and Linyuan knew Binghua's identity, the holy left wing of the King of Angels, and the military commander of the angel civilization. Why, can't I just come and sit with you if you have nothing to do? Texas also felt that he had said the wrong thing, so he quickly asked Binghua to sit down and poured her a glass of water himself. Binghua didn't hesitate to sit on the stone bench opposite Texas and Linyuan, and went straight to the point without going around the corner. I just looked through the historical information of your Kamigawa civilization in the palace, but I found that the second half is missing. I'm quite interested in the historical process of your Kamigawa civilization. Do you have a complete version here? If it's convenient, could you tell me about it? Texas and Linyuan looked at each other. Texas was about to speak, but Linyuan beat him to it. Miss Binghua, I actually don't know this question. Texas and I are both warriors, not scholars. If you want to know more about this, you can go to the space teacher. Binghua understood the meaning of Linyuan's words, so naturally he wouldn't bother anymore. I understand. It's really inappropriate to ask you two this kind of question. I will go find the space teacher you call me when I have time. Afterwards, Binghua chatted with Texas and Lin Yuan on some unhelpful topics, and Binghua left on his own initiative. Even though the two sides are already familiar with each other, Binghua can also tell that Texas and Lin Yuan are hiding something from him, but this is understandable. After all, the civilizations of both sides have not officially announced the establishment of formal diplomatic relations. After Binghua left, he did not go to find the space teacher, Lin Yuan said. Instead, he returned directly to his palace and contacted Kesha later. Kesha, who was on the opposite side of the communication line, seemed to be in her private room. She was not wearing a military uniform but a white dress with some gold decorations on the shoulders. Binghua, why did you contact me suddenly? Is there something wrong? Although Kesha has ascended the throne as the King of Angels, she does not regard herself as the Queen in private conversations with Binghua, just like before. Kesha's behavior undoubtedly made Binghua feel very comfortable. Of course, Binghua would not push her too far and would not take Kesha, the King of Angels, seriously. She would still ask Kesha for instructions and information. The Queen agreed. Queen, what is the purpose of the Kamigawa civilization coming to our angel civilization from space? These days, I feel that their attitude towards us angels is too close. Texas and Lin Yuan have something to hide from Binghua, and Binghua's holy left wing as an angel will naturally not confide in them. Both parties know this, but this does not affect the normal communication between the two parties. There is naturally a reason for Binghua to ask this question. According to her observations during this period, Texas, Lin Yuan, and Piexu, the three war gods of the Kamigawa civilization, are not weak in some details. Regarding his angelic body, this was the result of Binghua's hidden testing, and it could not be ruled out that the other party deliberately revealed it. Kesha thought for a moment, and finally decided to simply tell Binghua the purpose of De Kong's visit to the angel civilization. The purpose of that space scholar coming to the angel civilization is very simple. He wants the angel civilization to join the Kamigawa civilization. Of course, he doesn't let us join in vain. He promised that as long as the angel civilization is willing to join Kamigawa, he will open 90% of Kamigawa's database to us. But I rejected him, and he has come to me again and again recently, but the matter has not been settled yet. Binghua understood clearly. No wonder the exchange staff of Kamigawa civilization were so close to each other. According to Binghua's understanding, Kamigawa civilization was not weak. Then what do you think, Queen? Kesha, who was opposite the projection, changed her position, leaned on the chair, and answered while adjusting her blonde hair that fell on her chest. I will not agree to let the angel civilization join the Kamigawa civilization, even though it is just an alliance. However, in a close alliance, there is always competition for interests within it, and we angels have not yet fallen to the point of competing for food with those ordinary civilizations. However, some of the technologies brought out during space negotiations are still of some use to us angels, so I plan to delay it for a while. If he is so anxious to come to Angel Nebula, there must be some place where our angels are needed, so I am not in a hurry and will just see if he can come up with something that makes us angels excited. After hanging up the communication with Kesha, Binghua sat there and fell into deep thought for a long time. Sure enough, Kesha was more suitable to become the king of angels than himself. Binghua was thinking about what he would choose if he encountered this situation. The answer was simple: if you reject space directly, or even use harsh words, the two parties may never interact with each other from now on. Time flies, and half a year has passed in the blink of an eye. The close exchanges between Kamigawa and the angel civilization did not go smoothly. In the end, the Kamigawa civilization and his team left the angel civilization. However, the two sides left each other the jump coordinates. If Kamigawa comes to visit again next time, the voyage will be shortened by more than half. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 295. Binghua also regretted not being able to learn about the second half of the historical process of the Kamigawa civilization. They were very strict in Texas and did not give Binghua a chance at all. But what's interesting is that Liang Bing seems to have become interested in one of the students named Carl from the leader of the Kamigawa civilization space. Before they left, Liang Bing often found opportunities to tease the shy blonde young man. When there is no war, time often passes extremely quickly. In addition to training his combat skills to prevent regression, Binghua also researches, perfects and strengthens his series of weapons. Of course, Binghua did not forget to supplement his knowledge about super genes and space, and often consulted He-11 and Liang Bing, who were the big guys in this field. Keisha is also conducting research to enhance the operability of her weapon Silver Wings. To this end, she specifically asked Binghua for combat data when using Silver Wings. Just when Binghua thought that the Kamigawa civilization would never come again, he didn't expect that just a few years later, space would come to visit the Angel civilization again. This time De Kong only brought one of his students, the young scholar Carl, who had been molested by Liang Bing before. The time spent in the Angel civilization in space this time was much longer than the last time, according to the information Binghua got from Kesha. Space has relented, and Angel civilization no longer needs to join Kamigawa. He is willing to open part of Kamigawa's database to Angel and exchange some scientific and technological data from both parties. Of course, there are conditions. Angel must also open part of its database to Kamigawa. The two sides officially announced the establishment of diplomatic relations, and the Shenhe civilization and the Angel civilization entered the honeymoon period. The first batch of technologies exchanged were all basic technical data, such as the two parties' knowledge of basic space theory and materials science. He-11 took out some alloy formulas from Angel's past, most of which have been eliminated by Angel civilization. The same goes for Kamigawa, and the technologies he took out were very complicated. After the first batch of technical exchanges ended, Space soon contacted the Angel civilization for the second technical exchange. This time, the Kamigawa civilization was so sincere that it even opened up some theoretical knowledge of super genes and two super warrior genetic templates to the Angels. In exchange, the Angels also released some basic Angel genetic data to Kamigawa. After the exchange of data, even with Binghua's knowledge, it can be seen that although the power of the Kamigawa civilization and the Angel civilization are both based on super genes, the development directions of the two sides are very different. The super warriors created by the super genes of the Angel civilization are well balanced in all aspects, including strength, speed, and physical strength. The most important thing is that they can continue to be upgraded. The super genes of the Kamigawa civilization are different from those of Angels. The super genes of the Kamigawa civilization have extremely strong outstanding features, and the host's body needs to be able to adapt to the super gene. Currently, there are only two super gene templates in the information provided by the Kamigawa civilization. One is the Kamigawa Warblade, and the other super gene template is called the Kamigawa Sniper. After research and calculation, He-11 discovered that the limits that the super warriors of the Kamigawa civilization could reach were restricted by the super genes in their bodies. For example, if a candidate is qualified for the Kamigawa Sniper super gene, as long as her super gene is activated, the host's physique will be incrementally enhanced in a short period of time, but the enhancement direction is mainly the increase in brain power and reaction power, speed, and strength. Very average, rather poor. The Kamigawa Warblade is different. After the super gene in the host's body is activated, the strength and speed will be enhanced, but the enhancement of brain power and reaction is very average. The most important point is that these two super genes have upper limits. The peak that warriors with these two super genes can reach, converted into angels, is the third-generation angel warrior. However, due to different genetic models and biases, it is impossible to prove who is stronger and who is weaker. Neither side is open to the other side in super genetic technology and data, because this is the foundation of the universe for the angels and Kamigawa civilization. As a scholar, Space is very obsessed with angels' supergenetic technology. However, after a long period of reasoning and argumentation, he found that Kamigawa and angels' genetic technologies are fundamentally incompatible with each other. The consequence of forced fusion is that the host's body will directly collapse and disintegrate. However, this also allowed Space to see the potential of the angel civilization. Unlike Kamigawa, which advocates individual power and godliness, the angel supergene pays more attention to the overall improvement. That is, with sufficient resources, the angel can even transform everyone in the clan. All angels were promoted to gods. Space felt that the third technological exchange was imperative. This time Space finally released the cutting-edge technology that once belonged to the Kamigawa civilization. Large star drive technology, large space wormholes, dark information storage and reading encryption, super gene keys, dark energy programming, dark plane computing, cloud theory, functional divine body theory, and a series of high-end basic theoretical knowledge. Although angel civilizations are involved in these technologies and knowledge, some of them are not proficient in them. The knowledge provided by Space supplements some of the theories of angels and shortens the time for angel civilization to verify these theories. The arrival of this knowledge made Hexy immersed in it every day, even rejecting Binghua's occasional invitations to chat. Of course, while Space provides this information, it also brings the concept of Kamigawa civilization and the information that the current universe is not friendly to Kamigawa organisms. Binghua once went to sit in on the conversation between Space and Kesha. Rather than talking, Binghua believed that it was a negotiation and that the things involved could even affect the future pattern of the entire universe. Space first explained the pattern of the current universe, and what it said was much more detailed than what the angel civilization understood. Now in the entire universe, the existence of angels and our Kamigawa civilization should be divided into the camps of the Kamigawa civilization by the beast body civilization. Kamigawa body life refers to the form of upright humanoid life species like angels and us Kamigawa people. The composition of animal civilization is more complex than our Kamigawa creatures, including four-legged beasts and upright orcs. In short, all civilizations with animalistic characteristics are classified in the camp of animal civilization. Listening to the description of Space, Kesha on the throne made some rebuttal. We angels have wings on our backs, should we also belong to the animal civilization array you mentioned? Space was not angry because of Kesha's rebuttal, he just said calmly. I believe that Queen of Angels, you should have dealt with animal civilization. Do you think the beautiful angel civilization can be compared with those rough and ugly animal civilizations? Kesha frowned slightly. The impression of animal civilization on Kesha was indeed quite bad. Faced with the faint praise in Space words, Kesha couldn't continue to dwell on this topic. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 296. Seeing Kesha's silence, Space continued to speak. What is endangering the existence of our divine river civilization is not only the animal civilization, but also a kind of existence called the triangular body. While speaking, a three-dimensional model was projected in space. A black marine fish creature that was more than half a meter long and looked like an inverted triangle came into the sight of Binghua and Kesha. This creature is called a trigonid, and we have so far not found a way to communicate and negotiate with them. They will occupy the planets they encounter with surface ocean coverage exceeding 25%, and forcibly transform the planetary environment, rapidly expanding the ocean coverage area on the planet. As for the civilization on the original planet, they will be ruthlessly wiped out by them. They are the common enemy of Angel and Kamigawa. But now our Kamigawa civilization is sandwiched between the beast body civilization and the triangular body, and is being attacked from both sides. You are the king of angels, and I won't hide it from you. I am a descendant of the ancient Kamigawa civilization. The real Kamigawa civilization was destroyed thousands of years ago. Only a few survivors and I survived by chance. The current new Kamigawa civilization. The idea that I and other descendants of Kamigawa formed the new Kamigawa civilization is also very simple. We just want to know the truth about the destruction of Kamigawa civilization and prevent other civilizations from being destroyed as silently as the former Kamigawa. When Space spoke the last words, his tone was very firm. He didn't sound like an old man at all, but like a young man pursuing his dream at all costs. I believe that as the Queen of Angels, you should understand the truth behind the death of lips and teeth. After the Kamigawa civilization that is currently blocking the way is destroyed, the eyes of beasts and triangles will shift to angels. After finishing speaking, Spacey paused, looked at Kesha sitting on the throne and continued. So I hope that the powerful Kamigawa civilization standing in the known universe can join forces with the angels to eliminate the two threats of beasts and triangular bodies and establish the dominant position of our Kamigawa civilization in the known universe. Only in this way can I and other descendants of Kamigawa safely explore the truth about the destruction of the Kamigawa civilization and prevent other civilizations in the known universe from suffering the same fate and destruction as our Kamigawa, including your angelic civilization. Kesha sat on the throne and thought about what Kong Kong had just said. Although Binghua, who was listening, felt that Kong Kong said a lot of nonsense, there was one point she agreed with. If angels are divided into the camp of the Kamigawa civilization, the future universe must be dominated by Kamigawa creatures, otherwise the situation of angels will be extremely dangerous. As the king of angels, Kesha certainly understands this truth, but joining forces with the Kamigawa civilization is not just a matter of playing house, it requires practical actions. As mentioned in the space talk just now, Kamigawa is now under attack from both sides and can only barely maintain the current situation. If the angels agree to unite with the Kamigawa civilization, war will be inevitable, and as long as there is a war, there will be casualties. For the future of the entire civilization, Kesha, as the king of angels, could not make an immediate decision. Finally, she stood up from the throne and spoke to Space. I already know what you said, and I will think about this matter carefully. Kesha then left the main hall, and Binghua nodded to Space and left shortly after. Walking in the spacious palace corridor, a ray of light imprinted on the ground through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Kesha walked in front, and Binghua followed behind. After walking for a while, Kesha suddenly stopped and spoke abruptly without looking back. Binghua, do you believe what you said about Space? I don't know, but judging from his frequent visits to angel civilization, he should be in a hurry. If what he said is true, the Kamigawa civilization should be in a very dangerous situation now. Binghua didn't hide anything and said what she was thinking. After hearing the words, Kesha walked to the window and stared at the scenery outside. I also understand the truth that Space said just now, but if Kamigawa can take the initiative to come to our angels to unite, the animal civilization they are fighting must not be weak. With the addition of the triangular creatures with weird methods, this war will be tough, it's brutal. Hyoka heard from Kesha's words that she planned to agree to join forces with Kamigawa, and asked aloud. Queen, are you going to agree to the joint request for Space? Kesha turned around with a hint of determination on her delicate face. Angels cannot be absent from this war that will determine the fate of the future universe. Space visited the angel civilization for the third time and finally got the answer he wanted. The angel king Kesha finally agreed to unite with the Kamigawa civilization. But it is not without conditions. First of all, if this war is won, angels must gain the right to formulate the future order of the universe. To put it simply, after the war, Angel and Kamigawa will share the power to formulate rules for order in the universe. Next comes the highlight. Angels will send a large-scale army to assist the Shenhe civilization in fighting. The two sides will jointly defeat the Beast Civilization and the Triangular Body Civilization. During this period, they are not allowed to attack each other or harm each other. At the same time, the Kamigawa Civilization has opened up to angels information on the God-making project, high-end knowledge such as the theory of second and third generation divine bodies, as well as the unique weapon engine technology of the Kamigawa Civilization. Kesha didn't know what she had talked about with space in the end. Even Binghua felt that this condition was too generous. Although the super gene technology of both sides is not universal, this does not prevent Angel from learning from Kamigawa's super gene technology to develop something of his own. After all the conditions were negotiated, the space left the Angel Nebula. This did not mean that they would immediately send troops if they agreed to the United Angels. Preparing for war is not that simple. One of the conditions for Kesha's agreement to send troops to assist Kamigawa is that it takes time. Angels need to digest the high-end knowledge of Kamigawa's civilization and turn it into their own power. Space also agreed. Rather, the stronger the army of the Angel civilization, the greater the chance of winning this war. In the blink of an eye, several years have passed. The super warrior technology of the Angel civilization has been improved. Whether it is a first-generation warrior, a second-generation warrior, a third-generation warrior, or even Binghua's divine body genes, they have some new functions. He 11 borrowed some of the more prominent features of the super genes of the Kamigawa civilization to strengthen the overall genes of the Angel civilization. Warriors below the divine body mainly focused on physical strength, while Binghua was more proficient in the application of dark energy. Binghua's weapons have been greatly strengthened, and his ability to clean up miscellaneous soldiers has been qualitatively improved. Today, Binghua can be said to be a legion killer, and only soldiers of the same level can hinder him. It is time for the Angel civilization to fulfill its promise after digesting part of the high-end knowledge of the Kamigawa civilization and applying the technology that can be realized in a short period of time to the actual Angel civilization. The first thing is to open up the star field between the civilization of Kamigawa and the armies of both sides to formally meet and join forces, and Kamigawa had already started taking action a year ago. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 297. As the Holy Left Wing, Binghua also serves as the military commander of the Angel civilization. She naturally became the leader of this large-scale expedition launched by the Angel civilization. When the Angel civilization was ready for war and all the Skyblade combat units were assembled, Binghua said goodbye to Kaisha, Hexi, and Liangbing, then boarded his Skyblade flagship and formed with 25 Skyblade combat units. A huge fleet headed towards the galaxy where the Kamigawa civilization is located. In the 600th year of the Merlot Heavenly Angel calendar, the angelic civilization's holy left wing Binghua led a large number of angels and heavenly blades to launch a holy expedition. It took nearly 10 years to open up a channel with the galaxy where the Shenhe civilization is located, and established a safe interstellar route. On the road, the sword of heaven presses on the environment, and no one dares not to surrender. Because all those who resisted have been wiped out from the universe. In the star field where the Kamigawa civilization is located, a very special fleet is waiting here. To say special, it is because the composition of this fleet is a bit mixed. Among them, there are 3 appearance styles alone. One is the spherical battleship of the Kamigawa civilization, the other is an ancient ship-shaped battleship, and the third is a long black box-shaped heavy-style battleship. Texas, are you sure the Angel civilization's army will arrive during this time? We have been waiting for more than 10 days. You must know that the front line we Tiandeo star people are responsible for is very tight. A tall man wearing ancient armor and a silver crown spoke. Texas just stood on the deck of the battleship with his hands folded across his chest, like a statue, and listened to him calmly say. The Angel civilization is an ally of our Kamigawa civilization. To show respect, I, as the god of war of Kamigawa, personally came to greet you. Don't you want to leave without permission? Texas' tone of voice at this moment was not at all as honest as he had shown in Angel Nebula. Instead, it revealed a heart-stopping sense of oppression and the iron-bloodedness of a soldier. Hearing this, the armored man with the crown stopped talking. Although the Kamigawa civilization is an alliance formed by many aerospace-level and first-time god-making civilizations, the structure is a bit loose, but there are also superiors and subordinates. Kamigawa, the god in civilization, is the absolute leader. Most of these gods are descendants of the Kamigawa civilization. They possess exaggerated individual strength and can stand alone against the main battle fleet of an ordinary civilization. The man who just spoke was wearing ancient armor and a silver crown. His name was Xiantian, and he was from the Kamigawa Tiandeo star. It was originally an affiliated civilization of the ancient Kamigawa civilization. After the destruction of Kamigawa civilization, the Kamigawa Tiandeo people joined the new Kamigawa civilization that was created in space. It is one of the more powerful primary god-making civilizations in the Shenhe civilization today. However, because its civilization philosophy tends to be conservative, it has never been very gregarious, but this does not affect the combat capabilities of their army. Texas stood there for a long time, and when he was about to leave the battleship deck and return to the cabin, a soldier suddenly came to report. "Report, we scanned an unknown group of giant battleships, and they are rapidly approaching our direction." Texas cheered up. If nothing unexpected happened, it should be the fleet of the Angel civilization. However, as the leader of this fleet, Texas still issued an order to prepare for battle. As time passed, a few twinkling dots suddenly appeared in the endless starry sky in the distance, and they became brighter and brighter. Almost in the blink of an eye, beams of blue light flow shot into the cosmic space in front of Texas, and huge sky blades like hanging swords emerged from the spreading blue energy particles. For a while, except for Texas, many of the soldiers present in the Kamigawa civilization battleship swallowed nervously. This is not fear, but the heartfelt shock of a small thing seeing a huge thing, not to mention a sky blade whose shape and style are like an upside-down sword. Texas looked at the group of angels flying from the sky blade. A smile appeared on his originally serious face, stepped forward, and greeted Binghua, who had just landed on the deck of the battleship. "Miss Hyoka, welcome to the new Kamigawa galaxy." Binghua folded the wings behind her and responded with a faint smile. "It's been a long time indeed. I've told Texas many times, just call me Binghua." After that, there was no nonsense between the two sides. Binghua ordered his high-level Angel War Group to command all the Skyblade battleships under his command, follow the Texas fleet, and go to the current hub of the new Kamigawa Civilization Center, a large college located on a living planet. When Binghua first arrived here, he couldn't help but vomit in his heart. Is the structure of the so-called new Kamigawa civilization so loose? The center of power is this large college. Miss Binghua, I guess you don't believe it from the look on your face. As you can see, the top leaders of the entire Kamigawa civilization now live in this academy. They are the leaders of the various civilizations that make up the Kamigawa civilization. Together with the space teacher, they discuss and command the various armies of the Kamigawa civilization that are currently fighting against the beast body and the triangle body. And it is a god like me who is responsible for leading the army on the battlefield. Binghua nodded. Even without seeing it with her own eyes, she could still imagine the lively scene of the Kamigawa civilization discussing strategies and other matters. However, these have little to do with the angel civilization. Angels are not members of the Kamigawa civilization, but allies. As soon as he arrived at the giant academy on the planet, Space led a group of old men in different costumes to greet him. "Welcome His Majesty the Holy Left Wing to lead the fleet to support us. On behalf of everyone from the Kamigawa civilization, I welcome the arrival of the angel civilization." Binghua raised his hand slightly to indicate that "you're welcome," and spoke in a formal tone. "You're welcome. Since the Queen of Angels has promised to become an ally with your Kamigawa civilization, we angels will definitely fulfill our promise." Then Space introduced Binghua to several old men in different costumes behind him, and Binghua only remembered their names. Among them, the strong man named Diweo, who was wearing a rich brocade robe and a golden crown, and a tall man over 2 meters tall, with a broad build and wearing a black coat with red buttons, left the deepest impression on Binghua. Because compared to the other aging old men, the two of them exude an inexplicable power. This kind of power is very familiar to Binghua, and it is something that only a civilized king can possess. Afterwards, Texas and Binghua entered a spacious room in the academy together. The furnishings of the room do not have any sense of technology, but instead resemble an ordinary study room of a pre-nuclear civilization. The bookshelves on the walls are filled with books with beautifully framed covers. Binghua and Space sat opposite each other across the long red desk, while Texas stood quietly to the side. Space spoke first, breaking the silence in the room. "I wonder if His Excellency, the King of Angels, is doing well recently." Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 298. Binghua smiled slightly and then went straight to the point. "We angels don't like to beat around the bush. I have now led the fleet to open up the route between the Angel Nebula and your Shenhe civilization. Next, your Shenhe civilization also needs to fulfill your obligations." Space was not angry because of Binghua's more straightforward words. It would be better to say that no one present was a politician. This more straightforward way of speaking was more efficient. Space was originally a top scholar of the Kamigawa civilization, and was also the crystallization of a god-making project in the ancient Kamigawa civilization. But now, even the leader of the entire Kamigawa civilization has not been able to change his own character. Therefore, when he was in the Angel Nebula, his tone of voice did not sound like the supreme ruler of civilization who was equal to Kesha, but more like a scholar who came to lobby. It was the same at this time. Space didn't explain it to Binghua in person, but looked in the direction of Texas. Texas took a few steps forward and walked to the side of Space and Binghua and spoke in a deep voice. "Our Kamigawa civilization has always been at the forefront of fighting against the beast body civilization, so we don't need to prepare anything at all. And now our total number of troops stationed on various front lines has exceeded 1 billion, and the number of super soldier troops has reached 1 million. There are more than 7 gods involved in the war with the beast body and the triangle body, and there are 50 demigods." Texas put his hands on the table and looked at Binghua's delicate face and said in a deep voice, "As soon as the large forces of the angel civilization arrive, we can assemble an elite force to combat the offensive momentum of the beast civilization, break into their sphere of influence, forcibly divide the forward troops surrounding them, and implement the most effective siege and annihilation tactics." Texas was very confident when he spoke, but Binghua did not believe that the truth was that simple. He did not immediately agree or refute, but asked a question that was not related to the strategy that Texas said. "I would like to know the detailed information about the advanced beast civilization that Kamigawa is dealing with. I wonder if you can tell me about it?" When Texas saw that Space didn't say anything to stop him, he stood up straight and spoke to Binghua. "The beast body fighting us now is not a single civilization, but a coalition composed of multiple beast body civilizations." While talking, Texas used micro-wormhole transport technology to transport a square black metal bar and placed it on the table. The next moment, the metal bar emitted blue light, projecting an extremely strong humanoid creature. The upright creature in the picture has well-muscled skin and a rough brown color. Its teeth are pointed and sharp and are half exposed outside its mouth. Its face is as ferocious as a beast. It has relatively complete metal armor all over its body. It also holds a hand that looks crude but has a caliber. Exaggerated guns. On the side are his height, combat evaluation, and other data. The ground troops of Shima civilization are 2.2 meters tall, with extremely developed muscle tissue and extremely strong vitality. Equipped with large caliber blasters and electric heated battle axes. Combat strength assessment: stronger than ordinary warriors, weaker than first-generation warriors, and a weak threat to super warriors. Then the screen flashed, and the existence in the projection also changed. It has a long and narrow head like a lizard, with black pointed horns pointing upwards in the middle of the nose on both sides. The back is covered with carbon black plate-like scales. It wears light metal armor to protect its abdomen and holds a double-headed knife. Sabata has a half-animal body and is 3.2 meters tall. He has strong strength and a back armor that can ignore fire strikes. He has a strong physique and holds a special alloy weapon. Combat assessment: medium threat to super soldiers. The things that appeared next were different from the previous ones, which were bare-chested and bare-backed, with extremely obvious characteristics of animal civilization. It has a humanoid shape, wearing a rough silver-gray full-body armor, and a helmet that only exposes its eyes, nose, and mouth. It looks like a general from the cold weapons civilization, but its upturned fangs and animal body, the appearance of the style shows that he has a half-animal body. The Tianding star has a half-animal body and is 2.4 meters tall. It has extremely strong physical strength and can live in the vacuum of the universe for a period of time. Threat to super soldiers: strong. After that, several kinds of beast warriors were projected on the projection screen one after another. The one that impressed Binghua the most was a civilization of giant beasts. One characteristic of this civilization's species is that they are all extremely large, mostly over 50 meters in size. Their shapes are not exactly the same, and they possess considerable intelligence. However, the most dangerous thing about them is that they can spit out high-temperature plasma, a liquid that is highly flammable. Liquids and other long-range attack methods. The above-mentioned beast body civilizations, or half-beast body civilizations, are all affiliated with the Titan Protoss. As for the Titans, Binghua had fought with them before, and their combat power was probably at the level of the third-generation angel warriors. This undoubtedly further illustrates the power of the beast body civilization. Binghua felt that he could not just listen to Texas's one-sided words and needed to find an opportunity to test the specific combat level of the beast body civilization. If they rashly implement the tactic Texas had just adopted, Angel and Kamigawa might bury all their elites. Texas, what you say, I will paraphrase later, Lord of Angels. As for the tactics just now, I need to go back and think about it carefully. Texas nodded without saying anything more. Space opened his mouth at this time. His tone was very confident. As long as you angels agree to this battle plan, Kamigawa's civilization will fully cooperate. Binghua nodded to indicate that he understood. Now that he had learned the information about the animal civilization, Binghua didn't plan to stay here any longer, so he stood up and said goodbye. I have received the information about the animal civilization. I will go back and settle the fleet first. I believe Queen Kessa will visit Kamigawa soon. At that time, the Queen will discuss the follow-up cooperation matters, so I will take my leave. Space didn't hold back and asked Texas to send Binghua to leave. The Skyblade battle group suspended outside the planet began to sail towards an unguarded star field. Immediately afterwards, Tianren began to release small engineering robots and began to collect resources to supplement Tianren's losses, while also hoarding energy and various materials. Binghua was wearing a white dress and sitting on the soft seat of her palace in the Skyblade battleship. She was carrying out a book and was about to flip through it when Jingnan's voice rang from the door. Queen, you are back. Jingnan stepped into the room very familiarly as he spoke, sat down on the side, wrapped his arms around Binghua's exposed neck, and put his nose to his shoulder for a light sniff. Well, the queen still smells good. Binghua said helplessly. Okay, Jingnan, you've smelled it, can you let me go first? But Jingnan was acting like a child. No, we are all female angels anyway, what are you afraid of, Queen? Binghua sighed and said, your armor is hurting me and preventing me from reading. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 299. Only then did Jingnan let go of Binghua, which made Binghua couldn't help but vomit in her heart where the former Sanwu Jingnan, who was rigorous and conscientious in doing things, had gone. As he and Jingnan gradually became acquainted, Binghua accidentally discovered that Jingnan admired him so much that he even had photos of himself in his room. Jingnan, who was discovered, was a little embarrassed at first, but as time went by, he became more and more open-minded. Although Jingnan was still very serious when working, in private he no longer concealed his excessive love for Binghua. Intimate worship. Of course, all of the above were seen from Binghua's perspective, so Binghua didn't pay much attention to Jingnan's occasional close contact with her. She thought this might be a way for Jingnan to express his admiration for her. Queen, what are you reading? Don't we angels only need to read it in our minds to know everything? Jingnan cast his eyes curiously on the book in Binghua's arms and found that the writing on the cover was in Kamigawa script, which roughly meant history of the rise and fall of Kamigawa civilization. Queen, haven't you read this book before? Binghua did not raise his head, but opened the page and said, the things recorded in the book last time were not complete. This was the second half that I got when I left the space. Jingnan nodded and said nothing, but quietly leaned against Binghua, like a younger sister clinging to her elder sister. Hyoka didn't pay attention to these but focused on the Kamigawa characters recorded in the books. After a long period of exploration and verification, our Kamigawa civilization discovered that the entire universe is very vast, and what we know only occupies a very small part of the universe. So we call the universe that has been explored the known universe, and the unknown universe that has not been explored is called the void, which means the universe of unknown space, and the intersection of the two is defined as the border of the known universe, also call it rim space. In order to better understand the composition of the universe and expand the boundaries of the known universe, Ding Ge, a great scientist, proposed a theory of the origin of the universe. It also attempts to simulate and calculate the current universe by simulating the Big Bang, adding real physics and mechanics systems, and constructing a framework model of the present universe to expand the scope of the known universe. However, the amount of calculation required is so huge that even the large-scale computing cloud of the Kamigawa civilization cannot support this operation. Then Kamigawa's space technology made a breakthrough, and unexpectedly opened a portal to an unknown space, and a battle broke out with an unknown race. At the beginning of the war, Kamigawa was at a certain disadvantage, but unexpectedly discovered a special being in a space, and used him as a template to study and perfect the technology of the third generation of gods. In the end, we, Kamigawa, won and defeated the opponent and expelled them from our world. Do not know why. Shortly after Kamikawa won the war, all the stars in the Kamikawa galaxy suddenly accelerated and burned, and the space became inexplicably chaotic. At this time, the Kamigawa galaxy was like a cage that was about to explode. Only me and some Kamigawa people who were lucky enough to go out escaped from this cage in advance due to a strange combination of circumstances. Soon after, all the accelerating burning stars in the Kamigawa galaxy began to expand simultaneously, quickly completing supernovae. The dense supernova explosion destroyed the ancient Kamigawa civilization in an instant. What is eternal and what is called a god is as fragile as an ant in front of the power of the universe. Most of the Kamigawa people like us who survived were scattered to various places in the universe. Only some scholars and soldiers of the Kamigawa civilization did not want the ideas and inheritance of the Kamigawa civilization to be cut off. At the same time, they also wanted to find out the true picture of the destruction of the Kamigawa galaxy. We began our journey to rebuild Kamigawa. We first found the former affiliated civilization of Kamigawa and began to spread our ideas and the technology of Kamigawa civilization in exchange for their support. But good things don't last long, and bad things spread thousands of miles. After discovering the destruction of the Kamigawa civilization that once competed with them, the beast body civilization made a comeback. In order to fight against the large-scale invasion of the beast body civilization, all the Kamigawa body civilizations must be united, so we, the descendants of Kamigawa, established the Kamigawa Pan-Civilization Alliance. As the war with the beast body civilization intensified, more and more Shenhe body civilizations and beast body civilizations were involved in this war. The Kamigawa Pan-Civilization Alliance gradually condensed into a relatively harmonious whole, which was called the New Kamigawa Civilization by the beast body. Binghua turned to the last page of the book in his hand, and the author of this book was signed by Space himself. Closing the book and placing it gently on the desk in front of him, Binghua looked at Jingnan, who was still clinging to him with her eyes closed as if she was asleep, and couldn't bear to disturb her. Instead, he made a simple summary of what he saw and heard after arriving at Kamigawa civilization and sent it back to Angel Nebula. As for why Binghua can still establish contact with the Angel Nebula, this is thanks to the remote data docking technology obtained from the Eternal Ascended One. Binghua made some improvements to it so that it could be compatible with the Angel's dark communication. He only needed to establish a signal receiving station in the mellow heavenly court, and then he could use the Skyblade battleship to send information and data back. Kesh's reply was also very simple, that is, to wait and see what happens, and only when there is complete certainty can the angels participate in the war, and also let Binghua make his own decision based on the situation. At this moment, Angel Ran's communication application suddenly popped up. After clicking on it, he heard a familiar voice. "Queen, just now the Kamigawa civilization sent news that the Kamigawa god of war is going to the frontline battlefield to support a war zone that is fiercely engaged with the beast civilization. They asked us angels if we wanted to participate in this war and familiarize ourselves with the combat mode of animal civilization in advance." Binghua fell into deep thought after hearing this. In his previous conversation with Space, he had metaphorically shied away from the request for joint operations because he did not understand animal civilization. Now that he has sent such an invitation, he is completely sure that he will not refuse it. "Ah, Ran, I already know about this matter. In reply to them, I told them that we will send 2 high-level angels to go to the war zone with them to familiarize themselves with the combat mode of animal civilization." "Okay, Queen, I will reply to them right away." Binghua's communication with Ran was cut off and she was considering who to send. First, she excluded Ran and other high-ranking angels who held important positions. Finally, after thinking about it, Binghua had a suitable angel choice in her mind, and that was Hexi's sister, the battle angel Heikawi, who was now under her command, and Jingnan, who was often inseparable from him. One of these 2 angels has a strong fighting ability, and the other is his deputy. Their identity and fighting ability are guaranteed, and they will not make the Kamigawa civilization feel that they are perfunctory. The next day, Binghua sat on the throne in the Tianren conference hall, with 2 angels standing below. They were Heikawi, who had silver shawl hair and looked somewhat similar to Hexi, and Jingnan, who had long black hair and brown eyes. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 300. He Chui, Jingnan, I called you here because there is something that you 2 angels need to do. He Zui said carelessly, if you have anything to do, I'll take care of it, as long as it's not observation, statistics, or other work. Compared with Hizui's carefree attitude, Jingnan is undoubtedly much more formal. What's the matter, Queen? Binghua was not annoyed by Hizui's attitude, but continued to speak. Texas, the god of war of the Kamigawa civilization, is going to the frontline battlefield today to support their front. I intend to evaluate the combat capabilities of the animal civilization. After thinking about it, among the current angels, only the 2 of you are more suitable. Before Hizui said anything, Jingnan spoke up first. Queen, I am your assistant. After I leave, how will you? Before Jingnan could finish his words, Binghua on the throne raised his palm slightly and interrupted. You don't have to worry about Jingnan. Your mission this time is closely related to Hizui. I need you to bring back the real information of the beast civilization and test their combat proficiency yourself. He Chai is only good at fighting and I don't feel confident leaving it to her. That's why I need you who are familiar with information operations to record combat data, because I feel more at ease with what you do. After Jingnan heard Binghua's last words, because you do things, I feel more at ease, he couldn't say any words of rejection. Hizui on the side curled his lips secretly, obviously feeling very uneasy about what Binghua had just said in a roundabout way, that she was unreliable in her work and prone to getting hot-blooded. Binghua, who was sitting on the throne, naturally saw Hizui's little actions and did not argue with her. With He-11's relationship, Binghua and Hizui were destined to dislike each other. Hizui was dissatisfied that his sister was too close to Binghua, causing him to not care much about his sister. Binghua was unhappy that Hizui sometimes came out to cause trouble and interfere with her conversation with He-11 when she and He-11 were chatting enthusiastically. But these are just trivial matters. Binghua will not put He-Chui in the shoes because of such trivial matters, and He-Chui will not question disobeying Binghua's orders. The result was no surprise. Hizui and Jingnan took over the task. After Jingnan left, Binghua stopped Hizui, who was about to leave. What else is there? Don't ask me to do some hidden missions to test the Kamigawa super warriors. I'm not that material. There were no other angels in the hall at the moment, and Hizui's tone was far from respectful, just vaguely gritty. Binghua wanted to laugh when he heard this, so he joked, I didn't force you at that time, you asked your sister to apply for transfer to the combat force. Why do you want to leave my service now and go back to your sister's place to be a logistics guard angel? Hizui stopped talking, but the word unhappiness was clearly written on her face, and she obviously didn't want to go back to her sister. Okay, let's talk about the two of us later. I asked you to stay because you have experienced a truly large-scale battlefield and have rich combat experience. Don't patronize yourself after arriving on the battlefield, and pay a little attention to Jingnan. She has not experienced a large-scale war since joining the Legion, so I am a little worried about her. Hizui was a little surprised and said, I didn't expect you to keep me here just because of this. Don't worry, I won't give her a chance to rush into the center of the battlefield. She just needs to collect data in a safe place. After Hizui finished speaking, he turned around and left, preparing to debug and maintain the weapons and armor he would need for this battle. A few days later, the front line of the war between the Kamigawa civilization and the beast body, the 10th Starfield War Zone, the planet Kaser. A small combat fleet belonging to the Kamigawa civilization sailed towards the planet and finally parked outside the planet's atmosphere. At this moment, in the not-too-distant space battleships of beast-like civilization, with rough shapes that looked like they were pieced together from large thick metal plates, began to emerge and rush towards us. Seeing this, the two rectangular silver-gray warships in the fleet, which were more than 1,000 meters long, quickly separated from the fleet and sailed in one direction. The remaining nearly 10 escort warships began to face the warships of the beast civilization. After a while, the two sides exchanged fire in the space not far away, and began to tilt their firepower towards each other from a long distance apart. The battleships of the Kamigawa civilization fired thick beams of light, while the thick and exposed cannon barrels on the battleships of the beast civilization fired energy bombs that looked extremely unstable. The two battleships that had separated from the fleet were parked above an atmosphere of the planet. The scene inside the battleship was very lively at this moment. Texas was wearing heavy black metal armor that did not affect his flexibility, and was carrying a very ferocious single-edged axe on his back. He walked in the cabin and shouted at the same time. Please pay special attention to me. Because there is a behemoth civilization on the planet Kaser, the battleship cannot take the risk to send us down, so after a while we will airborne the orbit to the planet Caesar to support the brothers on the ground, so please pay attention. I need to check my weapons and don't die in the hands of those bastards just because of this trivial matter. On both sides of the cabin were soldiers wearing black lightweight metal armor and holding large caliber firearms. Occasionally, one could see soldiers wearing lightweight metal armor to protect their vitals and carrying metal giant swords and sniper rifles on their backs. Texas continued to walk forward, and suddenly saw two figures standing out from the crowd. His expression became extremely exciting, and he quickly walked over. "Why are you two here?" Hizui and Jingnan were now dressed in angel warrior uniforms, wearing red tasseled helmets but with their chins uncovered. Their delicate faces and hair spread over their shoulders made the two girls look heroic. "We were ordered by the Holy Left Wing to follow you to participate in the war and collect actual combat data on the animal civilization, so we followed you," Jingnan said. His tone was very gentle, but Texas did not soften his heart because of this. "I know, but I have said before that after we airborne and open up a safe zone, you can land together with the subsequent heavy firepower troops." Before Jingnan could speak, Hizui reached out to block Jingnan behind him, inserted himself in and spoke, with a hint of gunpowder in his tone. "We are also warriors. If you look down on us angels because we are women, there is no need to continue the alliance between angels and Kamigawa." Jingnan heard the words and quickly smoothed things over. "I'm sorry, Hichui's temper is a bit bad, but the army of our angel civilization is composed of female angels, and Hichui and I are both angel warriors who have participated in the war, so Dirk Sass, you don't have to worry about us." Jingnan had said so. Texas had no choice but to give up, and finally said, "Then be careful and don't be left alone." After saying that, Texas turned around and left. The surrounding soldiers who were still watching the excitement were glared at by Hizui's beautiful eyes, and they dispersed to prepare for the orbital airdrop.